Hello, lovelies. It's me, Jalen. Today I'm very excited. We're going to be doing a book tag. I did get this idea on Larry Reed's account. So Larissa Campesino, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. I'm getting full inspiration from her. Like all of the tags that I'm doing are from that video. So go check that out if you want to. I love Larry Reed's. Fully endorse. Jalen endorses Larry Reed's. I don't have the power to do that. We're just gonna get started. The first one is a book that I tell everyone is my favorite. That would be Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. I read this two years ago, I think. I love this book. So it's basically this girl, the main character, Bryce. Something happens in the very beginning of the book that kind of kicks off the action in the rest of the book. And she's making herself figure out what happened. She's like, okay, I need more details. I need to know exactly what happened. And there is an Asteri, which is kind of like the police of Lunathian, and his name is Hunt, and he's placed to like watch her. And so he's just like always around. So it's kind of like forced proximity. I wouldn't call it enemies to lovers. Very much bodyguard romance vibes from that book. I love that. Was my favorite. It's my favorite book that I've read so far. Although Haunting Adeline is creeping up there. The next is a guilty pleasure book. It is probably Neon Gods by Katie Robert, which I did annotate so I can just flip through to any of the colors. Yes. That's probably my guilty pleasure. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling for anyone who doesn't know. It's set in modern day times. They don't have like the powers that they have in Greek mythology, but there is some sort of like magic. Sort of. It's kind of confusing unless you read it. It's about Persephone, who is supposed to be marrying Zeus, and she doesn't want to. And so she flees to the Undercity where she finds Hades. And then Hades is kind of keeping her safe in his house, and that is how they fall in love. And the spice in this book is immaculate. Next is a book that everyone loves, but I did not. So I actually have never heard a single bad thing from anyone about 5 Feet Apart, the book. I did not like it. I couldn't actually make it past like page 12. I think it's because the stage of my life that I started reading it. I do not think that it is because it is a bad book. I think it's because I should have read it in middle school. But I was trying to read it when I was 15 going on 16. And after I had already read some other books that were like more mature themed books. The next one is a book that I read the fastest, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the series that I read the fastest. I don't have Queen of Nothing with me right now, but the Folk of the Air series, the original trilogy, I definitely read the fastest out of anything that I've read before. I read this, it took me like a week to get through The Cruel Prince. That is very true. But then The Wicked King, I started at like 8 p.m. one night. The next day, I finished it by 12. I drove my happy little ass to Barnes & Noble. I bought The Queen of Nothing, and I started The Queen of Nothing after dinner that night and finished it by 3 a.m. So this was definitely the fastest series that I've ever read. I highly recommend these. I love them. They're great for beginners of fantasy. They're great for fantasy lovers in general. Yeah. A book that deserves more hype is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I loved this book. I think this book is so good. It was not a 5-star for me. I think it was like a 4 point something. But it is a really, really, really good book. It does not have any spice, which I think is probably the reason why it doesn't get very much hype, because it is a fantasy book without any spice in it. But it's so good. Love triangle, running away to another world, a human among the fae. She's like, I don't know. It's just, I really, really, really like it. And I actually have the second book, which is These Twisted Bonds, which I'm very excited to read. I plan on reading that this year. Okay, I got it. A book that is becoming a movie, which everyone knows, which we don't like to discuss, is It Ends With Us. Yay! I love Blake Lively, I really do. But it's just not right. And the pictures from set, why are they dressing Lily like that? The book was good, I thought. I liked the book. It wasn't a 5-star for me, and it wasn't as emotional as I was led to believe that it was going to be. But it did hit some very deep topics, some very, very deep topics. The next one is a book that I reread the most. I actually don't reread books. I've never actually committed to rereading a book. But if I had to say one, I would probably say the Twilight series. I got them in middle school. I read them out of order in middle school. The one that I read all the way through back then was Breaking Dawn. And so then when I got into high school, like towards the end of my freshman year, I read the whole Twilight series again, but in order. So probably that. For a book from a genre that I don't typically read, I'm going to say I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I watched the docuseries on this on HBO Max, and that's why I bought the book, because I really, really, really want to read it. It's actually like a nonfiction. I don't typically read nonfiction, but it is about the Golden State Killer from, I think it was like the 90s. He had 2 different aliases, possibly 3, if I remember correctly, and he was terrorizing California for quite a while. And so I did watch the docuseries on HBO, and I was very, very, very interested in it. And for anyone who doesn't know me, because I don't make this known to very many people, I actually am a true crime nut. I love true crime documentaries. I love watching like Dateline. I love watching Dateline. So this was something very interesting to me. I actually haven't read it yet, but it's been on my TBR for a while, and so this just, it fit the tag. For a book that deserves all the hype that it gets, I'm gonna go ahead and just give a series. I only have one book in the series here with me right now, and unfortunately it's the most boring book of the series, but I'm gonna say the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype for ACOTAR, but it's well deserved. It is well deserved. It's an amazing fantasy. It's actually the series that got me back into like reading seriously. And so I'm very grateful to my cousin for that, because she was the one that was like, Jalen, read this. It's like, okay. So I think that it definitely deserves all the hype that it gets. Yeah. I can't wait for that to get its own TV show. I think that that's been rumored to be happening for like a while. A book that I usually recommend to people when they ask me for book recommendations would definitely have to be Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, because 1, it's such a cute little like rom-com. 2, I read romance. So obviously if someone's asking me for a book recommendation, they want a romance book. And 3, I think that it's a great book in general. I really, really love that book. For a book with my favorite characters in it, This Blood That Binds Us by S.L. Coakley. I love all of the characters. I love Luke and Aaron and Presley, and Luke, Aaron, Presley. My man, I'm forgetting my favorite man's name right now. Zach. His name is Zach. My favorite character from that book. I forgot his name. Zach. Okay, let's start over. So Aaron, Presley, Luke, Zach, and Kimberly. I loved all of them. I can't wait for the second book to come out, because she's been promoting the second book a lot lately, which is This Blood That Burns Us. And then I also really, 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 really would love to see a book from Zach's POV. That's his, because I feel like he's a very complex character, and we just don't get to see a lot of that. For a book that I thought I'd hate but ended up loving, it's going to be the Vampire Diaries series by L.J. Smith. I actually have the whole series, all 13 books in there. I actually really thought, like, I've only read the first 4 and I need to start 5. But I think they're really, really, really good. They definitely give me like Nancy Drew vibes, like the style that it's in, like the time period and all that. And they're really short. They're very, very, very fast paced. But I really like them. And they're very different from the show. I am obsessed with the Vampire Diaries, the show. I've watched it 12 times all the way through. I love that show. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll get them. I'm probably not going to like them because I've heard that they're so different. I love them. I love them. If you are a Vampire Diaries fan, I definitely don't go into it thinking that it's going to be like the Vampire Diaries, because it is not. It is literally so different. A book that made me cry. There are a lot of books that make me cry, but if I can think of one in particular that made me absolutely sob like a wreck, it would be this book. If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. Wow. If you follow me on TikTok, you saw that little bit of a mess that I was in there. I cried a lot. I actually, funny story, the next day I finished this like at like 1 a.m. one night, and that same day after I like slept and then woke up and then I had to run errands, I was driving and I was looking up at the telephone lines and I was like, huh. And I started crying. That's all I'm going to say, because for people who haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, I started crying while I was driving my car, and it had been like at least over 12 hours since I finished it. A book that I wish that I could read for the first time again is definitely Crescent City House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. There were so many plot twists and so much, it was an emotional roller coaster when I read that book. I think I have videos of me like laughing, and then videos 5 minutes later where I'm crying, and then another video like an hour later I'm like, you know? A book that cures a reading slump. For me, one that actually did cure a reading slump that I was going through was Promises and Pomegranates by Savar Miller. That's another Hades and Persephone retelling. I love Hades and Persephone. I love Greek mythology. So I ate that up. I ate it up. And let me tell you, the spicy scenes in that book, to die for, okay? I absolutely love them. It is mafia, and the Hades character, his name is Cal. Our Persephone's character is Elena, and Cal and Elena are forced to get married. And so they get married, and Elena doesn't want to be in the relationship. I'm editing this right now, and I'm like, I don't think they got married. She was supposed to get married, and then he prevented the wedding from happening. And then, like, took her away. I don't think they got married. And so she goes off on all these little outings that are not approved by Cal, and gets herself into some trouble. You know, the usual kind of like he saves the day, they actually fall in love, and then bam, the biggest plot twist happens, and you've got to work through it. You got to work through this with Elena. It's really strange. I thought the plot twist was a little weird, but it's all right, because I still really like the book. I loved the book. A book that I think everyone should read is Electric Idol by Katie Robert. It is the second book in the Dark Olympus series, and it is a Psyche and Eros retelling, and I'm obsessed. I loved that book. I think it is so good. If you like Greek mythology retellings, if you don't even have to like mythology retellings to get this, I really don't think. If you like romance, if you like spice, if you like marriage of convenience, this is the book for you. And I will say, I think I'm gonna make a separate video for this at some point later, but that book actually helped me a lot when it came to my body image. Like, it helped me a lot. Like, it helped me get through that little bout of self whatever. A book that I think would make an amazing movie is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I love Twisted Love. I haven't read the rest of the series. I plan on reading the rest of the series. I just haven't yet for some reason. I haven't gotten around to it, but I will. I think that that book would make a really good movie because it's simple enough, but it's got like that 50 Shades vibes, you know, but not quite as dark. Plus, I just want to see Alex Volkov on the screen. A book that I wish everyone would give a shot, even if it's out of your comfort zone, is Haunting Adeline. I'm going to say 2 for this one, actually. No. Yeah, I'm going to say 2 for this one. Haunting Adeline. And I'm not even done with this. I'm only that much through. Like, you see those tabs? This is where I'm at. That's how much I've read, and I'm already that obsessed with it. I already know that it's going to be a 5-star read for me. I wish everyone would give that a shot. It's very dark, but it's so good, and it has my attention on every scene, and I'm on the edge of my seat every time I'm reading it. Another book that I wish everyone would give a shot, even if it's out of your comfort zone, is Credence. I know. It's got quite a bad rap, just the nature of the relationships that happen in the book. But it's a 5-star read for me. So in my 5-star read video, which I'll go ahead and link below, I justified my reasons for giving Credence a 5-star. I loved Credence. I think it was so good. And I think that it handled deeper topics, but also hit the spice spot that I needed when I was reading it, which I think is really great. I love when a book has a really good plot and a lot of spice. So just give it a go. Lastly, a book that I will never forget. They Both Die at the End. Oh, I thought it was here. It's not. Probably They Both Die at the End, because that book was the first one that was actually, I read because I knew it was going to be emotional. And that's what got me into reading emotional books. I really like reading emotional books, which is why I read If You Had Been With Me. And my friend also recommended to me Underneath the Sycamore Tree. I think I'm going to read it. But They Both Die at the End is definitely one that I'll never forget. It is about 2 boys, teenagers, young adults. I'm not really sure what their age was. They get a call. And this call, in their world that like it's normal to get these calls, this call is telling them they have 24 hours to live. They're going to die within the next 24 hours. And so they end up meeting like on this app for people who get the call, and they hang out for the rest of the day and low-key fall in love. And I really, really loved it. And the ending, even though I knew it was coming, the ending hit me so hard. I felt like, I don't know, I sobbed for hours. I was having, I had my cousin over. We were doing like a little sleepover because we did a book day that day, like where we went out in gowns and stuff like that, and we went and bought books just for fun. And I was sobbing, and she was sleeping next to me, and when she woke up, I was still sobbing. Like, she woke up because I started crying so hard, and she was like, "What happened?" I was like, "I finished the book, and they did both die at the end." Okay, that is my little book tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you, Larry Reads, for giving me the inspiration for this book and for being such an amazing booktuber, because I love watching your booktube. She's not gonna see this. No chance, but that is all right. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening, and I'm so happy that you were here. Go ahead and do whatever you want with those little buttons down there. Smash, click, tap away. Thank you.